Alrighty, thank you for your patience. We're live now. May I have a volunteer to chair this meeting and call the meeting to order?
You did such a good job last time, Tom.
We need to learn more from you.
All right,
We'll support you.
I don't care. Do we need a nomination? I nominate Kevin. Let me move down here then.
Thank you.
More central to the proceedings here.
Be good for the communications merit badge too.
Yeah. His counselor gets elected. All right, at this point in time, I would like to call this meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals to order. I'd like to call the roll. Julia Williams is not here. Kevin Wagner.
Here.
Brian Alderton.
Here.
Constant Lux.
Here.
Tom Bachman. I'm here. And Kitty Davis is not. Okay. I assume that constitutes also my appointment as chairperson.
So move.
Been moved that I be appointed chairperson. Do we have a second?
I second it.
It's been moved by Kevin and is seconded by Constance that Tom Bachman be appointed as chairperson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So carried. Should have brought my gavel. Okay, this, could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The purpose of this meeting is case number 2616. It's for 121 McCulloh Street with looking for a special exception and a variance. Okay. Now, statement of the appeal. I had things.
It's on page 3 of your
Yep.
packet.
You got it. Just
I'm getting there. Okay, this public hearing of the Frostburg Board of Zoning Appeals is advertised in local newspapers to be held at the Frostburg Municipal Center located at 37 Broadway on Wednesday, January the 4th, 7 o'clock. Pursuant to Section 1.18 of the Frostburg Zoning Ordinance is now in session. Board members present are Connie Laux, Brian Alderton, Tom Bachman, and Kevin Wagner. This public hearing is being conducted for the purpose of hearing the appeal of owner. How do you pronounce your name? Siobhan Lewis Roach, who is requesting approval of a variance in regard to home occupation use in the R2 neighborhood residential district, pursuant to Section 8.1.d.6 of the Frostburg Zoning Ordinance to expand the occupancy of an existing family child care home, Section 1.8.e.1.a, to permit more than one non-residential employee at the family child care home, and Section 8.1.e.3 to permit more than 500 square feet to be used for a home occupation use. The property owner is also requesting approval of a special exception process to permit the operation of a private school within the residence pursuant to Section 3.2.c.13. Meeting procedure is as follows. When you are called to testify, please come forward, state your name and address, and proceed with your testimony. While testimony is being presented, other persons present will refrain from interrupting. Only testimony of persons recognized by the chair will have any bearing on the decision of the board. Decisions made by the Board of Appeals may be appealed to the Circuit Court for Allegheny County, 30 Washington Street, Cumberland, Maryland. Testimony will now be taken from persons and agents or counsel who have indicated their desire to testify. We generally do a communal swearing in, so anyone who is interested in testifying either for or against the appeal, please rise and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly declare or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may be seated. Okay. It's time for the applicant's and proponent's presentation of the case. So,
Good evening. Just want to say I appreciate you all being here,
Thank you.
taking up
Thank
your
you.
time to listen to me speak. I don't mind if you ask questions in between, if that works better for you, but I can also go through everything and then we can do that at the end. So, like you read, Tom, I appreciate that, is that I'm looking for a variance. I currently have a small family daycare, which is licensed for up to 8 children. I've held that license since 2009 at a few different locations in Frostburg, but since I've moved into this place on McCulloh Street, I've had it there. And I'm asking, I guess the first step is to ask for, to get a license for 12. So there are 2 options for family daycares in Maryland, one's 8 and one's 12. But being in the Frostburg city, you're limited to 8 without the special exception to get to go up to 12. And then due to that, I have to have 1 staff member there at all times with me to have 12. But there's issues like there's an emergency, like my daughter just broke her arm at school. So if I get called and have to leave, that's why I'm asking for the variances on employees to start with. Is if I have to leave, somebody would have to replace me before I could leave, which would mean I'd have 2 employees that weren't myself, obviously, on the premises. And then I ask for a third so that I can, if I have the private school, so that if I'm teaching them, I have an assistant with the pre-K kids, if I'm teaching the older private school students, or just if I want someone to come in and help prep meals or clean up, just having an extra pair of hands. I've been teaching for 15 years, and as many hands as you can have in a classroom, so I'm sure you know is a great thing. So those are the things I'm asking for, as well as the square footage. So my understanding is, I think the intent of the zoning square footage is that so we're not opening up a commercial place in a residential neighborhood. So I'm asking to be able to use more than 25% of my square footage and more than 500 square feet. It doesn't change the inside of my home any more than it looked when I'm open with daycare or I have 3 of my own kids or anything. I just right now I've been following the letter of the law and only using a small space, only using the quarter of it. But I'd like to be able to use the living room upstairs to get kids in and out and putting coats and shoes on and letting them in the kitchen to eat instead of carting meals back and forth and things like that. Just so that was another thing that I'm asking for today. So I appreciate you looking at it. Bethany is amazing and made this beautiful packet, so I'll just go through there and then we can talk about I guess how it meets the business plan. So I guess you have a beautiful aerial. So I'm number 121, which is we have 118 and 1. So, see that? These are my house plans. So Bethany did. I didn't realize the numbers were so hard to read on these, but I do have about 1,200 square feet upstairs and then 1,200 square feet downstairs, as well as I have an exterior building that I just put in that I'm getting finished on the inside to use as an additional classroom space, and specifically mostly for having more gross motor things out there because we live in Frostburg and I want the children to be able to have more movement. Yes.
Quick question, sorry. Just
Yes.
for the record, though, so the aerial photo shows the older house. that has since been rebuilt, right?
Correct, yeah, so it was demolished and my house was built in its place, so I didn't. So that,
Okay.
I guess that was one that Bethany had found, but yes, so that's not a correct representation of how it is.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
No.
thank you. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, so I have the upstairs. I have my living room and kitchen. Have some bedrooms, and then the downstairs is like the big area. I have a huge one big open space, and then another classroom area and an infant area. I have a staff like adult bathroom downstairs, as well as a child-sized bathroom downstairs and one upstairs. Next is like
Quick
course.
question. Okay. The drawing on the ground floor plan, okay, show, as near as I can tell, shows a door on what appears to be the back of the building.
correct.
Okay, is that a door from the basement where the children are located directly to the outside?
Okay, so we have access from the basement straight out to ground level and upstairs. So I have the front door.
Yeah, I
The
saw
door-
the front, yeah, I knew where the front door
Yeah, the
was.
door that you're talking about is off the kitchen, so it's directly off the kitchen, which is onto a porch, which has steps straight down in the backyard. And then on the basement plan, this door is it's actually
Access,
direct from the
okay.
classroom straight
Right,
outside.
right. I was just concerned about escapes in case of,
I am very fire safety oriented. Unfortunately, I had a friend lost in a fire, so I tried to do that. So if you look at this picture right here, with all my licenses on the wall, this
Oh, yeah,
door
okay.
is at the end of this big room, and it goes directly outside, and then goes straight to the fenced-in yard. We do fire drills monthly, emergency drills monthly. So the kids know like when the smoke detectors go off and where to go. I have my wired smoke detectors. I also have battery operated smoke detectors, just so I have both kinds. And they connect directly to my security system, which calls the fire department immediately.
very good. Are they all connected one to the other?
Yeah, the wired ones are, the battery ones are
Okay,
not.
no,
But
battery ones.
I put extras in just because, like I said, it's a big thing of mine. I have fire extinguishers as well, although my plan would be to let my house go and get the children out, but that's one of the requirements of getting the private school licenses. I do have the fire extinguishers available on the floors. I also have on the security system, it has a police button and a fire button and an ambulance button. So, God forbid, if something were to happen to me, like the older children, especially like my 5-year-old knows, like I can push the policeman and the police will come, or the fire and things like that. It also alleviates me having to call 911 as I'm getting people out. They can already be on their way, and then I would call in to make sure that it went through. But
Do you have an AED?
do I have an AED? I do not have an AED. I would love to have one, but they are.
Yeah, I know that. I understand.
But it's actually a goal of mine to try and write a grant to try and get an AED and some EpiPens. I'd love to have EpiPens because I know that the schools have them. If I get the private school license, that's something I can use to try and get that things. They don't offer them as an option for daycares, unfortunately. And I do have EpiPens on the premises, but they're my son's, and I don't have school-related ones, and you can't get them without a prescription. But that's something I'm actually. I work with MSD, and I work with a group called the Family Child Care Alliance. I'm working on pushing a lot of laws through the state, so we go to a lot of trying to change things like that. Like we need to have the same access to those kind of things that bigger schools do, because emergencies happen in small programs too.
Are your employees AED trained?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. Everyone is
Trained.
first aid, CPR, and AED trained, birth through adult, even adult. Do we have any more questions? This point? Okay. So, you can see that I have a lot of materials. I have my master's degree in education from Frostburg. I actually interned with you, Mr. Alderson, a long, long time ago.
Okay.
15 years ago for
Okay, yeah, it's been a while.
maybe 18. It's been a long time. So I've been teaching for a long time. I've taught for the county on and off here and there. But children at this age learn really well in these small group family settings. A lot of the studies are coming out now, especially at the pre-K age, that these students are growing so much in a multi-age, low staff-student ratio classroom. Which brings me to another point, is that MSD is requiring that 50% of pre-K programs be in a private setting by 2035. So that's part of changing my license over to this, is that coming in the fall, I will have a grant that will allow free access to pre-K in my private program for residents of Frostburg. So we have Bell and Frost, which are both full and have a waiting list all the time. St. Mike's and Vanessa runs a great program there, but that's full. I would have more spaces to do that, but they would also be grant funded. So the state would pay just like they pay for spots in Bell or Frost. So that will be coming in the fall. You have to, it's on a tiered, same as Bell and Frost and all public pre-Ks are, you know, income guidelines or IEP, homeless, foster children, all, you know, rank a higher priority, but it would be another program that way. This is the building that I talked about, like the outdoor shed. It's directly outside of the other door. Eventually I'd like to maybe put an awning. There's a little like 2-foot space that's not covered. This is just my current license and the use and occupancy permit that I have right now that I'm asking for an exemption for. On page 18, 19, you see the latest inspection report from MSDE. They're all online, but I've never had any non-compliances in any daycares that I've done or any centers that I've run. I've run private schools too. I've helped out at Calvary when they were having issues and done some things there. Sacred Meadow Montessori School and accidents, so I ran that for a while. So I've done a lot of different things. You can also see the fire marshal's inspection. So the state fire marshal came by. Those are the next couple of pages. Up through page 23. So she came by and did her thorough inspection thing for a large family home. They would have capacity of 4 infants, and did a preliminary one for the private school and what I would need for that, because the licenses all carry slightly different rules and COMAR regulations.
Siobhan, can I ask you a question? And I'm
Sure.
sorry to go backwards, but on your license for your certificate of registration, you're approved to do days and evenings.
Correct.
What would be the hours, I guess, of your business, your child care
So my
service?
hours right now are 7 to 4:30.
7 to 4:30?
The pre-K hours would be 9 to 3:30. It's a 6.5 hour day for the grant, but I would have before and after care. I am licensed longer because just due to how I am, if I were to have anyone come over even part-time or partially or start babysitting friends' kids and things like that, I have to have the license up for that, just the way Maryland works, and I don't want to risk anything, but I don't have any like long-term evening hours, if that makes sense.
So you wouldn't be operating between the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m.?
No, and that would be overnights anyways, and I'm not licensed for overnights. That comes with a whole other can of worms that I
Okay.
have certain bedding and all of that, so
Thank you.
there won't be any overnights. Okay, so the next is the environmental inspection. So I had the health department come out and do all of their inspections. So she passed all of that. Do you want me to pause for a couple minutes while you need to look over any of those? Do you want me to read them to you? I don't know
Well,
what.
Bethany
what's
provided all these
Yeah.
to us, so we had a
Right,
chance to
right.
kind of review them, but
Okay.
yeah. Do you guys need to take a look?
No, my only question was, and I'm pretty sure the health department wouldn't have approved it if it was, the peeling paint is not lead-based, is it?
No, the house is only
That's new, yeah.
brand new,
It's a
so
house.
you don't have any lead-based paint at all.
I don't see anything here.
any questions, just let me know.
Yeah, actually I do, because I did look at the video, that the planning commission meeting, I think he answered this during the meeting, but for the rest of the board members, as far as what's stored outside, I mean, beyond the shed, I mean, do you have other things that are stored outside, like playground equipment or anything like that, or?
So I have like some toys and stuff out there. My backyard, I'm still waiting on, like, if you know any good like landscapers and stuff. I'm trying to get it, but I've had like 3 fall through. So I have the one shed that's gonna be the gross murder, and then I have another entire shed for like storing things. I have 2 swing sets out back, and I have a mulch area on the side for like smaller children.
Do you plan like any signage or anything to advertise your business, or have a sign that might be illuminated or anything?
I won't have any illuminated sign. I don't want to say no, but as of now, my plan is not. I don't like to advertise, hey, there's young children here. If there becomes a point where I would need to advertise, potentially, but I have a waiting list that's very long and usually get a lot of clients from word of mouth, so I just don't, especially with, you know, the issue we just had not that long ago, right, you know, less than a block from my house. I don't like to be like scream like, hey, there are children here, because I'm not a big school with like an SRO and things like that. So,
Right.
as of now, I don't have a plan, but I don't want to say I won't ever maybe put up something, but there's not going to be any big neon bright thing going on.
Thank you. I'm just trying to get a sense
Yeah.
for it, because it's a residential area. You got adjacent property owners and stuff, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. If I ever did, it would be like a small thing and only up like, hey, we have openings. Potentially they're changing little bits and pieces of the grant, so if that becomes a requirement that I have to put a sign up that says I have pre-K openings or things like that, might be a possibility, but I don't want the neighborhood being impacted that way personally either. So. Yeah, the next part of the packet is just letters of support. So the first one is from the Family Child Care Alliance, which is what I said is that group of professionals that I'm a part of. And they're actually who I'm working through to get the grant through. So we work on getting like billions of dollars in grants through MSD, and we're pushing a lot of changes in MSD, specifically to meet these guidelines of this 2035 deadline of having 50% of private providers in the pre-K option. We don't have the availability in Maryland to have pre-K for everyone, so we're pushing to make all these changes and make it make sense, because you can't require all these family child care providers to teach pre-K and then not, you know, change some of the COMAR regulations and some of these zoning issues and things that everyone's running into. So this is great practice because I'm working with the state on that, but this is the group that I'm a part of. Do you want me to read the letter, or has everyone had a chance to look through them? Okay, but Bill is amazing. He does a lot of that work on the state level and goes to all the legislative meetings, so he's...
I read all those online, that's why.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I've read all the letters online.
Online. So the next one's from Child Care Choices, which is another big program in the area. They help a lot of the different child cares and doing the same kind of supports. So they wrote one. So worked with a lot of these people on and off for the last 15 years. Then I have some letters from some parents, specifically have some from certain parents related to FSU, because I know I have to relate this to the city planning, and it's kind of hard to do for what I'm asking for. So this letter is from Rodney Richardson. He works at the Appalachian Lab, you know, in partnership with FSU. So they had a hard time finding daycare. Daycare is really hard to find. Quality daycare is near impossible to find right now, just for... There are waiting lists everywhere. If you have an infant, you might want to like get on a waiting list 5 years before you think about getting pregnant. Like that's kind of, I don't mean to like exaggerate too much, but it's kind of hard.
Wow.
So I have a letter from him, as well as Karen Kearns, who works in Pullen Hall, runs the tech program at FSU, the help desk. So she has her grandchildren there that, you know, live with her in her home. So I appeal a lot to professors from Frostburg State. My prices aren't the cheapest in the area. I run a quality education program, so I tend to honestly just draw in a lot of professors from FSU or local teachers in the area. Another one's from Jennifer Jorson, who, I don't know if a lot of you know, is president of Frostburg First here too, but her husband also works at Frostburg State. Jenny's one of my assistants, and she's my substitute when I need when people break their arms, and I need someone to to come. But her son Elijah's in my program part time too. So like I said, I work with FSU, and I know one of the big parts of the city plan is to kind of appeal to FSU employees to live closer. There's no point in an FSU employee living close to FSU and living in Frostburg if they have to drive to Cumberland or Romney for daycare, because they don't want to go from Frostburg to Romney to drop off their children and back. And a lot of the professors that we're trying, that I know FSU is trying to recruit are family age professors and employees. Like, they're the age where they're having children and things. So that's going to be a big draw. If we don't have somewhere for their children to go, there's no sense in them living here, because that's, worse. They're better off living closer to where they're dropping their children. That kind of makes sense. So that's why I included those, and just to let you know that my parents, I think, are happy. Then I have another one from Erin Bryce, who is my pre-K teacher assistant. She's a full-time student at FSU working on her early childhood degree. Just to show that I work with FSU on mentoring students. So I'm hiring students from FSU. I'm letting students from FSU come in and do observations. I help them with their homework. I graduated from there with my bachelor's and my master's, so I know a lot of professors. And once I have the pre-K grant, or I have the private school certification, they could actually do their actual official internships at the program, which makes it a lot easier on FSU students, because a lot of them don't always have transportation to head outside of Frostburg. So a lot of them, it makes it easier. I'm walking distance to FSU for those students that don't have transportation to get somewhere every day. Do we have any questions at this point? Okay. The next couple are just from all of my neighbors, or most of them, not all of them. I didn't get a hold of everyone, but on the block from kind of, on both sides of the street, everyone I could get a hold of. Some of the houses are abandoned right around me, or empty, but those are just some basic letters from them, and one from Jessica Smith, who lives across the street and has small children who are at my house right now. still being watched, but that's just basic letters that show. A lot of them, when I knocked on the door, were like, I didn't even know you had one.
Oh, wow.
It's a couple of them, because they were like, well, it's not bothering me because I didn't know. Here are the exterior pictures. So this is the back shed, which is like more of a storage. This is like the front, additional like classroom, more usable. I have the 100-foot driveway, so I put that in because I know that parking is something that's concerns the city. So there's 4 off-street parking spaces on the outside of the gate, and then there's the driveway. We're working on finishing up construction projects and things, but they can pull up to the driveway, and then the door is right there as an optional drop-off area. But there's not usually a parking issue on my street and McCulloh Street. I don't know. There's a car parked right outside my house that doesn't even work right now. That's broken down. It's been there for months. But that's the option there, because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't causing a parking issue. We have that back driveway, and also cars aren't staying parked there. Parents are dropping off and running to work. It's not something where there's cars parked for a couple hours for a meeting or coming in to browse or anything. But they said we needed pictures of the exterior lighting. So the front of my house has a light right outside my door, and then another big spotlight on the front yard. And then this is the spotlight on the backyard. I have another one that's not installed that I'm going to install in the back shed to go back the other way, but they all have cameras attached them in a security system attached to that. And there's a big street light kind of right across the street that's really bright as well. The next is just the census data. So I just pulled out the population in Allegheny County. I actually worked for the census in Allegheny and Garrett County and helped run that operation recently. So proud of all the work all of our employees did to get all of that data done. But if you kind of run the numbers, we have about 3,000 children under 5 in Allegheny County. If you look at the information like from MSD. With large family homes, there's only 3, that's 36 spaces. There's 38 small family homes, which is 304 spaces. And there's 19 centers, which around here range from about 20 to 40 spaces. There's not any like mass, centers around here. Centers their numbers could be different depending on their space. But even at a high estimate, that's maybe like 1,100 openings, which is leaving like 2,000 children which don't have access to daycare, other than like the pre-K programs in the area, but they're not full-time. So, I mean, it's just like a play with numbers, it could go up or down, but there is a significant need for daycare and preschool and early childhood education in this area where we're lacking that. And that just kind of brings me to like, I guess my conclusion and how this benefits the city. So, I'm not in here trying to like make a beautiful business that, the zoning board necessarily hears or housing, but if families and our employment, the employment sector that we're trying to draw as our aging population of Frostburg leaves, a good number of them have children. We're not going to draw new businesses here and new employees here if we don't have somewhere for their children to go during the day. People can't go to work if we don't have childcare. Just in the last 3 years in Allegheny County, we have lost 6 centers and 19 family daycares in the last 3 years have closed down. COVID kind of made a lot. The regulations went from like the job being hard to the job being a lot. Teaching all over has changed and just become a little different. A lot more to do. So we've lost all of those on top of us already having kind of like a daycare crisis in the area. So as far as like the private school license, I'm looking to like not have a smaller private school option. It's illegal to homeschool other people's children in Maryland. So I can't, my son is home, he's in kindergarten right now, but you can't do full-time education of another person's child in Maryland without having an actual private school license. So even though I have the teaching degree, I can't do things. So I'm not trying to have like a huge private school population, but just a few small kids. And so we can have like science labs and that interaction of kids in similar age groups. And I love to teach all age ranges. My focus is mainly on the pre-K, but then like a small classroom of other students. And for anyone, I have a master's degree in special ed, so for anyone that, might have some special needs that aren't easily met, especially sensory needs in some of these bigger schools or programs, or just whose parents want that smaller, one-on-one care and are willing to, pay and provide that for their students. And that's, the other thing that the city plan mentions that like St. Mike's used to have a private school in Frostburg, which is closed. So their K-5 program is closed as well. So there aren't any private school options in Frostburg other than the private pre-K programs for. And I guess just basically like to end that, like we need to support the tax base, the economy, and there's a big push in Maryland that that was a big push all over like COVID. We can't bring everything back if we don't have, start with our children. So that's like I'm an early childhood educator. I've been one for 15 years. The birth to 5 range is where everyone learns the most and grows the most, and all their brain development is happening. It's really important and passionate to me. So I just want to make sure that we have those options for children that need it.
It says there in the proposal here that the process, you're looking for a special exception to permit the operation of a private school within the residence. To what grade level do you anticipate the private school going?
Through middle school, but like I said, it would only be like a few and probably grow up with like a group of children.
Through middle school. Okay.
I don't plan on ever having a high school license or covering that. That comes with a lot of different educational requirements and regulations hitting all the different subjects and credits and things, but for the option for kindergarten through 8th grade.
Do you have a license now? teach, or would that come after you are able?
So I have my teaching license. I'm licensed from birth through 21. I have a master's in teaching, and I have a current MSU teaching license. I don't have the private school license because I can't put in an official application without
Having
passing this.
Okay.
Same
School
with
comes
my
first.
same with my 12 family. I've been approved for everything off, but I've been with that licensor for a long time. The private school licensor, I've been in, I've worked with them. I know all the regulations. I've changed all the things, but yeah, you have to do this before I can take this to them, and then they can officially come out and approve or deny that.
And I know you covered this earlier, but how many non-resident employees will you have?
2,
Two, so you and 2 others?
correct.
But there'll only be
At-
2 at one time.
At a time.
In the building.
There might potentially be 3 in the building. Because I have to have 2 for the 12 for the daycare license, and I would need someone to teach the small group of private elementary and or middle school students. That would be including myself most of the time, unless there was an emergency where I had to pull a sub in to cover me.
Any other questions?
I don't think so. I just wanted to say thank you for preparing such a comprehensive package and all the research. And I was actually asking Bethany today for, local resident comments, and so I appreciate you providing, that. That definitely gives me a level of comfort that the neighbors are okay with it, so. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, if not, I'd like to proceed to the presentation of the Planning Commission review.
Sure. So on December 14th last month, the Planning Commission met to consider this request for a favorable recommendation to you all. And there wasn't a whole lot of discussion. The Planning Commissioners were very open to this. They specifically cited what a need we have for daycare centers in our community, and they unanimously issued their recommendation.
Thank you. Opponents' presentation of their case. Do we have anyone in opposition?
Or in support of.
Well, no, this is presentation of the... Okay. This is the opponent presentation
Gotcha.
of the case.
But we've had it in the past where we haven't had any opponents, so people have actually come up and supported the project.
Okay. Okay, so at that point in time, then we can assume there is no opposition, okay? And so we can dispense with the presentation of the rebuttal. And I'd like at this point in time to move to executive session.
I'll take one.
Second.
Oh. Wait a minute, let's get through the executive session, discussion of the findings and conclusions. Okay? And before we move to the, okay, because we have 2 things going on here. Okay, we have a variance and we have a special exception. So let's take a look at required for that which is required for the variance first. Okay. Variance to authorize upon approval for specific cases variances from the terms of this ordinance where, owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of the provisions of this ordinance would result in practical difficulty. Okay, this is for a variance. A variance from the terms of this ordinance shall not be granted unless and until the applicant has demonstrated each of the following. Okay, that special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar or unique to the land, structure, or building involved in the manner different from the nature of the surrounding properties, such that the peculiarity or uniqueness causes this ordinance to impact disproportionately on the applicant's property. Do we feel that that condition has been met? Have there been, or has she demonstrated we have special conditions and circumstances that exist which are peculiar or unique to the land, structure, or building involved in a manner that the difference from the nature of the surrounding properties, okay,
It doesn't.
What page
Such
are you on in the ordinance?
peculiar, I'm on page 13 of 20.
Okay, that's where I'm
Okay, variance, it's at number 4. Okay, variance from the terms of this ordinance shall be, and it's the first item under there, she has to show that there are special conditions and circumstances which exist which are peculiar or unique to the land, structure, or building involved in a manner different from the nature of the surrounding property, such that the peculiarity or uniqueness causes this ordinance to impact disproportionately on the applicant's property. So how do we feel about that? Has she demonstrated that there are special conditions and circumstances which are peculiar or unique to the land, structure, or building involved in a manner different from the nature of the surrounding properties, such that the peculiarity or uniqueness causes this ordinance to impact disproportionately on the applicant's property?
I believe she's demonstrated that when we have comprehensive package of photographs inside. And,
Thank you.
is that what you were looking for?
Yes. I'm just looking for somebody to say yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Do we feel that the peculiarity or uniqueness of the special conditions or circumstances relate to inherent characteristics of the subject property which are not shared by neighboring properties? For example, the shape, topography, conditions, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Historical significance and, okay. I don't think we have to worry about navigable waters, practical restrictions imposed by abutting properties, such as obstructions bearing at party walls or other similarities. Do we feel that there's any, that she has showed us that there is, that this peculiarity or uniqueness of the special conditions or circumstances, that is, she's running a daycare, and, okay, she wants to open a private school, okay, that would be any different from the properties, the shared properties, okay, that type of thing, okay. Okay, for example, the shape, the topography, the subsurface, the conditions, the environmental factors, historical significance, access or non-access to navigable waters, practical restrictions imposed by abutting properties, such as obstructions of party walls and other similar restrictions. Has she demonstrated that that is the case?
I believe so.
I believe so myself, but I'm the chair, so I really shouldn't say so.
Let's give you guesses.
Feel free to jump in, Connie and
Yes.
Brian.
Yeah, okay, let's say, since I'm the chair, okay, you literally, okay, okay, a literal interpretation of the provisions of this ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district under the terms of this ordinance. Be aware, we're approving a private school. And this is probably going to establish precedent in this case, because I've been a member of the board for quite a while, and I don't ever remember a case coming before us for a private school. So we're probably going to establish a precedent where people in other R2 districts could open a private school.
Of course, what Siobhan said is that there's a great need and they're hoping to increase it by what, 50% or something? So that wouldn't necessarily.
Yeah. So we can say yes, she meets these, this as well. The special conditions or circumstances did not result from the actions of the applicant. That one I had a little trouble with, but the fact that she does currently have a daycare in it, okay, can almost, as she's asking for is an expansion of it. Okay, so I had a little trouble with that it doesn't result from the actions of the applicant. Okay, but that since that daycare already existed, I think it would be fine.
Yep.
Such modification will not be contrary to the public interest. I believe she has demonstrated that strongly.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay. And such variance will not involve allowing a use not permitted under the terms of this ordinance in the district involved. I don't think in any of the things we had was private school listed.
I know, yeah.
In that
daycare
entire
was
chart,
allowed.
I mean, I remember looking through the chart, and I don't remember, okay, in any place, a private school being listed, one way or the other. Doing any of those, okay?
I don't think.
Primary or secondary schools, okay, by special exception, okay, we can do it. Okay, that's,
What page was that?
okay, that's in the zoning ordinances and stuff, it's almost the next page, page 30 of 120. Okay, right there at the bottom. Okay. Private, primary, or secondary schools, the R2 district is the second column, special exception.
Yep,
Okay,
We can
it's
do
right
so
there.
we got
Okay,
that.
we're good there,
There you go.
okay? So, okay, she meets part A, okay, and that's all we have to for a variance, okay, because she's not asking for an administrative variance. So, okay. Okay, wait a minute, I got one more. Okay. On the next page, looks like 14, or it's the very next page, or the back of that front page, actually. It says, variances shall not be considered based upon the financial condition of the applicant. I don't think we've considered that at all. Okay, do I have a motion on the variance? Okay, on the variance to permit the private school. I believe that's what the variance was for. Let me double check that.
We permit the variance on a private school.
Next page.
Now, she's requesting the variance to expand the occupancy of an existing school, of an existing child care center, and to permit more than one non-residential employee at the home, and to permit more than 500 square feet to be used for the occupation use. So that's what she's requesting the variance for. Do I have a motion to,
Can we discuss that, one of those items first?
Sure.
Um,
only too glad to.
Yeah, 'cause I thought there was
So,
something
where am I looking? I lost my spot. Here we go.
There you
It's 8.1, E1A on page 95 of 120. It's the operational standards. That's what they're seeking a variance to, one of these items. E1A, is everybody there with me? 95, page 95 of 120?
Yeah.
It says, a home occupation shall have no more than one non-resident employee on the premise at any one time. The number of non-resident employees working at locations other than the site of the home occupation is not limited. So we heard testimony that there could be up to 3, and we know that they wanted to at least have 1 additional. So do we need to spell that out in
That's-
whatever our approval is?
But that's why she's asking for the variance.
Yeah, she's asking for
the
it to
variance
do more than
be-
one.
She's
yeah.
asking for a variance of that particular restriction. As I see it, that's what
Okay.
she's asking for a variance of, is that particular restriction. Okay, so we shouldn't,
Okay.
if we grant her the variance,
I'm with you.
okay.
I agree
if
with
we If we grant her the variance, that shouldn't have a problem there.
I just wanted to talk through it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had
That's-
seen
I'm
that
glad
too.
you brought that up, because that was one thing I didn't look at.
It's all right.
Okay, but yes, okay, I'm glad you brought that up.
I
Because,
mean, the
yeah.
25% thing, I mean, It's a kind of odd requirement, you know, and I was asking Bethany about the square footage of the structure, and you do the numbers, I think they told us it was 2,200 in the application, so 25% of that is 550 square feet, you know. And they're basically using the entire lower level, you know, so obviously that's more than 25%, but, so I mean, it seems reasonable,
Yes.
you know, given how the space is set
Yes,
up and
how the
everything.
space is laid out and everything seems fine to me. Okay, so do we have a,
Sorry.
now Brian?
Go ahead, Brian, make the motion.
Okay, I have already read through what the variance is for. Do we have a motion to approve the variance?
Okay. Make a motion to approve all aforementioned variances.
Okay,
I seconded it.
okay, motion by Brian and seconded, I'm sorry,
You call me Connie.
Connie, seconded by Connie. Okay, that we approve the variance. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we need a motion to approve the special exception. Okay, the special exception is to permit the operation of a private school within the residence. Okay. And again, that is allowed. Oh, I took my daggone paperclip off. Now I can't find it, but it is allowed. I had it. There it is.
Is that an 8?
Maybe. I can't find it right now.
The chart's on page 30, if that's what you're looking for.
That's what we're looking at. Probably what I'm looking for. That sounds like the right location. Yes, that's the one I was looking for. Page 30. Thank you. Okay. For the private primary or secondary schools is allowed by special exemption in an R2 district. Okay, so it is definitely allowed by special exception. Okay, and so to meet the requirements of a special exception, I go back again to page 13. Okay. Okay, special exceptions, the Board of Zoning Appeals shall hear and decide only special exceptions as the Board of Zoning Appeals is specifically authorized to pass on according to provisions of the ordinance and decide such questions as are involved in determining whether the special exception may be granted. A special exception may be authorized when the Board of Zoning Appeals finds from a preponderance of the evidence of record that the proposed use or structure will be consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. Well, since our zoning board said this is a good idea, I would assume that we can also agree that it is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. Will meet the standards and criteria applicable to such use and similar uses permitted as a matter of right within the subject zoning district. And what she said so far,
Yes.
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 yes, it does, okay. Okay. Will not cause an adverse effect upon adjoining and surrounding properties unique and different in kind or degree than that associated with such use regardless of its location within the zone. Now, okay, I believe in her packet, the number of letters from neighbors and that type of thing says,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, it's definitely there. Okay. And she did provide the burden of it. She did definitely meet the burden of proof. So do I have a motion on the variance or on the special exception?
I make a motion to approve the special exception
Do we
as
have
requested.
a second?
Second.
Motion by Kevin Wagner, second by Brian Alderton, that we approve the application for a special exception. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Special exception is approved. Okay. There's only one thing left. Okay. The chair will at this point in time entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Been moved by Kevin Wagner, seconded by Connie, that we adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, Siobhan.
Thank you, Siobhan.